all over Maine right now, people are relaxing at the lake. Must be nice. For many, it's been an essential part of summer for generations.
One family has been loving the part of their lake for more than 80 years. But as 207's Don Kerrigan learned, they're also asking others to be more careful in the way they use the lake to protect its most beloved creatures.
There may be nothing more symbolic of a Maine summer than loons on the lake. Cobbossee Lake outside of Augusta is such a place.
They're on the other side of Mosquito right now.
Way over there?
Yep, now they're back on the left of the island. There's two birds chasing each other. They're right beyond the two white markers, straight past them.
Oh yeah, that's loons fighting.
Yeah.
From this little island in the lake, 4 generations of the Lund family have learned to cherish the loons.
Go to down east. And
John Lund, who was Maine's Attorney General 50 years ago, has spent most of his summers here since he was a kid.
There's so much happening.
His son Alfred, grandson Nick, and now great-grandson Elliot all have spent countless hours watching and studying these remarkable birds.
Loons have a technique for shrinking their body. They can compress it when they want to dive.
They're incredible swimmers. Sometimes you can see them from shore or from a boat swimming underwater, and they, they're incredibly acrobatic and fast. They need to be to catch fish.
And those birds, they say, can be tough critters.
So I study the loons, and they show me a lot, like they're fighting over territory right now. And there is the story from a couple years ago where a loon was known to have killed an eagle.
Elliot, just 5 years old, is already learning.
What did it sound like? Yeah,
That's pretty good, Loon.
On this lake, they say, the loons have been doing quite well. The Lake Association says there were around 80 loons here last summer. And sitting on the porch of the old family camp, John said that is a change. And you told me when we were on the boat coming over, when you were a kid, loons were rare.
They were relatively rare. Nowhere near as numerous as they are currently.
One of several reasons these summer birds are thriving here is in the cove of the island, with a floating nesting raft. John and his wife built the first one years ago after seeing a loon on shore struggling to protect its egg.
And we've had loons, sometimes one chick, sometimes 2 chicks, in almost every year since then.
Alfred manages the floating nest now and added cedar branches on top to shield it from the lake's growing population of eagles.
And the birds feel quite comfortable because there can be an eagle sitting in a tree just, 100 yards away, and they don't appear bothered at all.
And Nick, who works for Maine Audubon, says it's just one of many ways Mainers have learned to protect the loons.
And the population of loons in southern Maine has about doubled since we started the count 40 years ago.
But loons still face many threats from people, which is why the family invited us here. The biggest problem right now, they say, fast boats making big wakes.
I get concerned when I see 3 or 4 very fast boats coming down side by side. And I wonder, when I see that, how, when Loon's underwater, how does he avoid those boats?
And they say the wakes from those boats also damage and flood the loon nests.
That's why we have 200-foot no-wake zones at lakes, and that's why we're concerned about new boats on the water called wake boats, which produce bigger waves than ever.
There are many lakes in Maine similar to Cobbossee with a lot of summer boat traffic. And a leader of the Lake Association here says they hope all of those boaters will watch their speed and make it a priority to be careful around loons.
So we'd like to really have everyone understand to stay away from loons, to admire them from afar, and to really do everything they can, particularly slowing their boat down with their wakes, to really protect them. That is the best thing people could do.
For the Lund family, who have loved these birds for so long, it's personal.
If I were writing the speed laws, I would say you can't go 60. I can't think of any reasonable reason why a person has to go 60 miles an hour on this lake.
But for now, they just hope more of those boats will slow down.
You know, we're really lucky to have loons in Maine. Maine has the biggest population of loons outside of Alaska.
To protect what so many love about this place, they and the loons must share.
I did an interview a few years ago with a guy at St. Joseph's College who's a loon expert. And one of the many things I learned from that is that there are loons from Florida to Maine. I mean, you think of them, I had always thought of them as a northern bird, but no, I mean, loons in Florida. It's quite extraordinary. Although, Don's absolutely right. There is nothing that is more quintessentially Maine in the summer than the sound of a loon on a lake.
And they're definitely one of those birds where it doesn't matter how many times you've seen them in the past. When you come upon them, you're like, there's a loon.
Still get excited.
There it is.
Still get excited. Well, after last year's loon count, Maine Audubon estimated a population of 3,057 loons in the southern half of the state. That's where the loon count is focused because so many of the lakes in northern Maine don't have any people to do the bird count.
No surprise there.